Hi thoughts, welcome back to my channel. It's Ren. On the way in, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. It's the easiest and the freest way to support your girl, so go ahead, get to clicking below. I thank you and I appreciate you specifically you. So today I wanted to talk about women in their masculine. I wanted to talk about this specifically because as someone who's been doing inner work for over a decade at this point, I can definitely say I can see the difference from me being in my masculine energy versus my feminine, let alone divine feminine energies. And so I think it's something that we so often slip into without even realizing just how deep we are within it, because something that I was once called was emasculating, and I didn't understand how I could be emasculating. But from the version of me now, I can definitely see that because of, it's not because of the people that I was with, but the balance, polarity exists everywhere. So when there is masculine, there is feminine. When there's feminine, when there is masculine, even if it's wounded on both sides. So if you have a wounded masculine, you got wounded feminine. And I feel like in my previous relationships, we were both in wounded spaces, but we were both operating in the opposite energy. So by that, I mean that I was operating in the wounded masculine and he was operating in the wounded feminine. And it was very interesting because we were in such survival mode that, for one, I pretty much had to take care of everything. Trash, 0 stars. But beyond that, it was easy for me as a woman with my hormones, with all that came equipped with a XX chromosome body. It was so easy for me to see the flaws in him, and then also holding resentment because I had to operate in the masculine. Because if the man that you're with is operating in their feminine energy, it leaves you no choice but to operate in the masculine. And I'm saying that as someone who has experienced this multiple times. And that's on me for being in the position that I was to make the decisions that I did, because had I been working on healing and figuring myself out, at the very least I could have been in a feminine masculine relationship where I'm the feminine and he's the masculine, even if it's not a divine union. Nevertheless, that was not the case, because I think we were both so far in survival that we didn't have the ability to even be at the base. Ways that I could tell that I was in my wounded masculine energy is because I was the one who was taking care of everything in a romantic situation. And so being that I was the one taking care of everything, that is a version of providing. And even though it wasn't like I had a whole lot to give, nevertheless, it was still providing energy. I have a pimple coming and I hate it. I have a hormone pimple. But yeah, so I was the one providing in this situation. So, and then as a woman, it's easy to end up in resentment in those situations when you can't just be a woman. And even though physically, yes, I'm a woman, but I can't be in my feminine energy where I am at peace, because I'm out here working. I'm out here making a way for us, because who else is going to do it? If I don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so it's unfortunate that so many of us are in these positions because our counterpart is not going to take the initiative to remove that burden from you, because it shouldn't have been yours from the get-go. But then also, you can't trust that even if they did lead, that you would be in a okay position. Because, for example, I've mentioned before that I was in a bando. When I trusted my ex to guide us somewhere, we over here getting locked out by the marshals. Like, talk about crazy. So yeah, I think that it's one of those things that when you allow a man who is not, let me not just say a man, when you allow a person who is not equipped to lead you, you will be led into the dirt, essentially. You will be lacking on resources, you'll be lacking the security, you'll be lacking all the basic things, and you will be in such heavy survival that you don't even realize how deep and so how how deep and how far gone you are, because you're just that much in survival. And times like that, honestly, looking back, at least hindsight, it makes me realize how much of a luxury healing is. So that's probably something I'll even make a video on later, because a lot of us don't have the time to worry about healing. A lot of people are just worried about paying rent. They're worried about eating. They're worried about keeping their children safe. They're worried about, and these are all valid worries. These are all valid worries, but healing is definitely a luxury. So I'm thankful that despite how bad things was, that I was like, yo, F this. So yeah, I just thought that was very interesting. But another way that I could tell that I was in my masculine energy is because what is actually really funny, and I'm not putting this on gender roles, because however you conduct your house, all good, because some men love to cook and, you know, take care of all the household things, and vice versa, you know, so it could go anyway. Whatever you got for your household is fine. But for mine, at the time, I could tell I was in my masculine, because I refused to cook for this man. Granted, we were together for about going on a decade, but I can count on both hands how many times I cooked for him. And I think that it was such a subconscious thing that he ain't doing nothing else, might as well cook, is how I felt, to be quite honest. Like, at the least you could do is cook for us, because if I'm at work all day and you're at home playing the game, I mean, yeah, I expect you to cook. And that's probably honestly how men feel when it's like they have like a kept woman and they come home and a house dirty, ain't no food ready, and stuff like that. Like, they're like, well, you've been home all day, what else you been doing? Like, that's how I felt. Like, I can't say that's what it is, but that's how I felt when I would come home and it's just like, he's just on Call of Duty, living his best kept life. And so it's like, I refused to cook for him. And then the few times that I did cook for him, it's so funny, because as much as I be throwing down, it's like I convinced myself that I could not cook so that he wouldn't even want food from me. Like, I was so confused. Like, for years I was like, dang girl, you can't cook. But it's like, no, I can cook. Because I remember I used to cook like in high school and like my early college years. Like, I would cook for myself, but then I'd share with my brother and his friends and stuff like that, and everybody would always love it. But when it came to my ex, it was just like everything turned out terribly. And I'm not saying that men can't cook, but I'm saying where my heart was at, I wasn't able to create with love, because I was so busy doing other things. So the times that I did try to create something for him, it was just like, I'm not eating this, was the type of energy on both sides. And I get it, because I mean, if he put that in front of me, I wouldn't have ate it either. You know? So that was something that, even though it was really small, it's actually really, really big, because it's just like, as the wife that I am now, like, I can't imagine not providing for my family in that way. Like, I can't imagine that I'm just kind of sitting there waiting for somebody to cook for me. Because that's all it was. Like, I truly would just wait around for him to cook, because it's like, either you're gonna cook or we're not gonna eat, is how it was. Like, I'm not even gonna go buy us something to eat, you're gonna cook, and that's what it's gonna be. And it's like, you could tell that I was so heavily in my masculine, because that's honestly the energy that I had about almost everything that we went through. So it's like, either you're gonna do this or it's nothing. Like, I remember it was one point in time when we was together, and allegedly he had got a whole bunch of money. Well, he had got a whole bunch of money from tax time. I'm not gonna say how, but for those who know, he had got a whole bunch of money, and this was like about $10,000. And mind you, he didn't have a job. He had came down and was living with me. So he came from another state and was living with me, and he got this money. So he was living with me before, obviously, the money hit. He basically got this huge lump sum of money, paid $0 in rent. Mind you, he already hadn't paid this whole time he had been there, but he didn't pay up any rent. He did get a few things, like he got like a new couch, a new bed. So, I mean, maybe at the time it was about, back then, it was probably about $3,000-$4,000 to show for of things that he got. The rest of this money disappeared. Whether it was spent on recreational things, I really couldn't tell you. And after that, I was so upset, because I was struggling trying to maintain life with him. I was fine before he came, but after he came, I was struggling so hard to keep the lights on, to keep food in the fridge, all of this stuff. And he blew that money. And it was to the point where I told this man that your direct deposit can come to me or you can go. Like, those are the options. You either give, you have the money. Like, I had to like force him into getting a job, for one. So there's that. But it was just like, if you are going to stay here, your direct deposit has to go to my account. And I didn't even give him no money out of it. Like, I didn't give him no allowance. I didn't do none of that. Like, I would get tree. Like, I would get his tree and his basic necessities, and that was it. Because it's just like, you had all this money and you just blew it. You blew it knowing that I was struggling, and by me struggling, that means we're struggling. It didn't register like maybe I should at least pay next month's rent, because back then it was only like $600. It wasn't like it was a whole lot of money. So it's just like, you didn't think that it was wise to pay when you had about $10,000. You didn't think it was wise to pay the next few months of rent, even 1 month of rent. You didn't think that was wise. So those types of things is what had me so heavy in my masculine energy, because I was in survival mode. I was surviving. And so the fact that I told him that he either had to put his money in my account or he could go on back to where he came from, I mean, surprisingly, he did it. As the woman I am today, even in my feminine, if somebody had told me that, it'd be like, okay, well, have a great life. It's been real. Wish you the best. I ain't about to give you all, like, I'm not going to go work 40 hours and give it all to you. But the fact that he was just like, well, okay, that says so much about the state that he was in, but more so about me, because to me, that shouldn't have even been a requirement that, oh, well, you got to give me your money in order for us to survive and for me to trust that you're not going to blow it all. I should have been like, okay, I see how you move, and I'm not going to babysit you because your mama's over here. I'm not responsible for you in that way. So I should have been like, hey, it's been real, it's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. You have a good life is what I should have done. But because I was so heavy in my masculine and lacking in self-love and all kinds of things, insecurities, low self-esteem, all the things is wrapped up in one beautiful package. But no, really, all these things is wrapped up in one package. And I just didn't know how deep it was until I had to like skip town, basically. Like, I was about to get evicted, and it was just like, what else I'm gonna do? The lights had already been turned off. The eviction was coming. So it's just like, I had to like go move. I had to move states myself with him. So it's just like the fact that I had to do all of this because of being in survival, basically being with somebody, being with a grown man. Mind you, he was a good 8 years older than me. A good 8 years older than me. So when I was in my early 20s, this dude was in his 30s, or at least knocking on it at the time. And for me to be so wounded in both my masculine and feminine, I just went with, I guess, whatever was available. And he too went with whatever was available, because the type of man that he was, and this is no shade to him, he didn't have anything to offer. Like, it wasn't like, what do you bring to the table? It was just like, I don't even have, I'm not going to say homeless gear. I barely even got a coat for my back. There was nothing to offer in this situation. And even though I had something to offer, being with him removed what I had to offer in record timing, in absolute record timing. But these are all things that I didn't realize, that okay, you're operating in your masculine energy and you're saving this man. You came through like Prince Charming and swept him off of his feet and helped him survive, and just got him back to good health and all of this stuff. And I provided a home for him. I provided shelter. I provided all of his needs. And how I didn't realize I was in my masculine, beyond me. Probably, honestly, at the time, I didn't even know about this type of stuff. So even like, my daddy was still alive when this was happening. So actually, no, he wasn't. Daddy had just transitioned when all of this happened, or was happening. So by the time it got towards the end, it was just like, there's no way. I literally had to, I'm not even gonna go there right now, but Yeah, those are honestly a few ways that I could tell I was in my masculine. And honestly, depending on who you're talking to, it can show itself in so many different ways. And I want you to comment below what's one of the ways that you knew that you were operating in your masculine energy. Because I knew, but I didn't know. I knew that I wasn't about to do, like, I knew that I wasn't gonna do but so much for him. But honestly, the cooking thing was what tipped it off for me. It was just like, I'm not cooking for this man. Like, I'm simply not. And I mean, I'm not the type to cook for people, no way. I cook for myself, and if you so happen to have some, sure. But I wasn't even cooking for myself. I wasn't even cooking for myself. It was definitely a, you're gonna cook for us, and that's how we're gonna eat type of situation. Like, I literally gave him no choice. But as a, like, if I was to try that now, my husband would laugh in my face. Not because he can't do it, but just the fact that I was bold enough to come at him like that. Like, to be quite honest, like, he would be like, girl, bye. I mean, obviously he wouldn't say girl, bye, but whatever men say to those types of things, like, he would have, my husband, nah. I wouldn't even dare even think to say nothing like that to my husband. Like, the way I have so much respect for him, like, those types of, like, wording and everything comes so first nature now, where it's just like, okay, like, I speak to this man out of love, and even when I'm mad, I speak to him out of love. And with my ex, that didn't exist. It didn't exist at all. I'm not saying that to compare the two of them. I'm saying that to compare the me then and the me now is what the comparison is about. And that's because I've had time to heal. I've had time to do the things. And I mean, my ex used to say I was emasculating, but it's just like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but be the man then. Which also made him upset to say. Which I get, because that would hurt my feelings if somebody said it to me. But at the same time, I would be making sure that I'm doing what I gotta do so that you don't have nothing to come back and say to me about. Gender roles can be whatever you want them to be, but I never agreed for my ex to be a kept man. That was never the mission. That was never the mission. And I mean, shout out to him for all those years that he got to live comfortably, because I wish I had it. I wish I could say the same thing, but I can't. And that's fine, because those are all things that I needed to learn. And things got so bad that I mean, I have to thank him, because things got so bad that it's like I had no choice but to heal. Like, I had got squeezed between a rock and a hard place, to the point where it's just like, I don't know how, I'm just not a pope, is how bad it was. But I'm thankful, because it led me down a path that I needed to go. I wish it didn't take so long, but that's on me for my lack of awareness back then. And I have compassion for myself, for who I was and the space that I was in, to be so insecure and to fall into such a situation for so long. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it below, but yeah, let me know what ways that, if you had ever been in your masculine, how that showed up for you. And hopefully y'all don't got no stories like me, so you can be like, girl, I don't know what you talk about, that's just you. Like, I hope that is the case for everybody, but unfortunately I know that that's not. So let me know below, because girl, y'all can't leave me hanging on this one. Like, I mean, y'all can, but please don't at this point I can say I appreciate it because of what has grown from that. But if I had to repeat it, absolutely not. Hard pass, 0 stars. No. We're on our way out of that, and this will be a thing in the past, if it ever existed for you in the first place. So we're healing over here. Like I always say, we're healing over here. So we're gonna be living our best lives, and that is in all the ways. We get to have it all. So I want you to write that in the comments below, that I get to have it all, because you do. And it's your birthright. So if you don't recognize it, I'm gonna make sure you recognize it, and I'm gonna take you with me, okay? So if you made it to the end, go ahead, leave some balloons and some bubbles. If you forgot on the way in, it is all right. You can go ahead and do it on the way out, and I forgive you. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's the easiest and the freest way to support your girl. So go ahead and click all those good things below. And definitely turn on the bell notifications so you can be notified for when I post. Until next time, bye. Let's go.